Good afternoon, everybody. Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday afternoon as we are studying together Pirkei Avot, chapter 5. And today we are doing a new Mishnah, so please join us on, this is going to be chapter 5, Mishnah 15, if you're following us on a hard copy, but again, a lot of different versions. If you're following us along over here on the web, it's going to be, we'll find out in 1 minute. Okay, so here it is. Pirkei Avot. Let's open up to Perek Hamishi, chapter 5. And all of those that are familiar with Pirkei Avot, we know that the 5th chapter deals with different numbers of significance. So we started with 10 down to 7. Now we're up to the number 4. We saw already very nice, beautiful lessons with the number 4. Okay, so as an example, there are Arba' Midot Ba'adam, 4 type of temperaments. That's the next one. Arba' Midot, 4 types of character or personalities when it comes to money. We saw Arba' Midot Badeot, there are 4 types of temper. And today we have a new one. So it's going to be, if you're following us on the shared screen, it's going to be Mishnah Yod Bet 12. But again, if you're following on a hard copy, it's probably going to be Mishnah 15 or something else. So here we go. Do we all see it? Can I get a thumbs up? Beautiful. Here we go. Arba' Midot Batalmidim. There are 4 types of students. Whoa, okay. 4 types of students. Which one are you? Number 1, Maher Lishmawa Umaher Le'abed. Somebody who is quick to understand, but also quick to forget. Doesn't have a good memory. Okay? So a quick learner, but a poor memory. Let's just go through them and then we'll analyze each one. That one, Yatsa Scharo Behefsedo. Whatever he gained, he loses because of his memory. Next, Kashe Lishmawa, someone who has a hard time understanding. However, Kashe Le'abed, but has a very good memory. Yatsa Hefsedo B'scharo, such a person, whatever they lose because of their lack of comprehension, eventually they will benefit because they have a good and strong memory. Number 3, Maher Lishmawa Ve'kashe Le'abed, someone who is a very quick learner and has an amazing memory. That's a Hacham. And finally, Kashe Lishmawa Umaher Le'abed, someone who has a bad understanding, bad comprehension, and also a bad memory. This is a bad portion. Okay. Now, of course, the Mishnah is telling us that they're like the previous recipe. Okay, we had the 2 middles and then the 2 extremes. So over here we have our 2 extremes as follows: someone who is very quick to learn and very hard to forget. That's amazing. Someone who is very hard to understand, and also has a very bad memory. That's also very bad. And then you have the 2 middles, someone who learns quickly but forgets quickly, someone who learns slowly but who at least retains the information. So let us go one by one and try to understand what is going on over here in our Mishnah. So the first type, the first student, is a quick learner. Maher Lishmoa, learns very quickly. Whatever the rabbi says, boom. Whatever they're studying, right? Some people are like that. They're sitting in a class. I hated those kids when I was in class. The teacher would go and explain, and they're like writing the notes right away, understanding, and I'm like looking around like, what the world's going on over here? Please tell me you're kidding. I don't understand the thing that is right. And I felt like a fool. Okay, we'll use that word. So some people are gifted with a quick level of understanding, but they don't remember well. They have a poor memory. Nonetheless, this person should not despair, even though they don't remember quickly. Okay, even though they don't have a good memory, but they give a very nice mashal to such a person. Okay, a person once hired somebody to draw water. They give him a bucket. I want you to draw water all day. That's your job. Draw water from the well, put it, okay, all day. I'm paying you per hour to draw water. Okay, they get paid whatever it is, minimum wage, 15, 20, whatever it is, an hour, and that's what they do all day long. Now imagine the same guy came and said, now I want you to use this bucket to draw water. Is it okay? And they handed the bucket. The bucket has holes in it. A lot of holes. So whatever they use to draw water, it's falling right out. So they're getting a lot of water, a huge bucket, but everything's falling through. And when they pour it, nothing remains really to pour into the trough. Will this person get paid for doing their work? 100%. Because it's not your fault that the guy gave you a bucket that was broken. So even though it has holes in it, do your job and you will get paid handsomely for all of your efforts. Okay? The Maharal over here learns something very beautiful, and he says a little bit interesting. He says that the Mishnah is telling you that the reason the person forgets quickly, the reason they are maher le'abed, they forget quickly, is because they are maher lishmoa, because they understand very, very quickly. Now what that means is, like we say in English, there is a phrase, and that is easy come, easy go. The things that we learn quickly, we will sometimes in life forget very, very quickly. And the Maharal, if I could just find it, here it is. One who grasps quickly and therefore, he writes, and therefore forgets quickly. He explains that if he had listened carefully to the teacher's words, instead of trying to digest them too rapidly, the lesson would have made a lasting impression on him. He forgets quickly because his initial grasp of the material was rapid but shallow. By the way, it explains a lot of times in school, you see young kids that they are very bright, they're very sharp, and they have super intelligence. And a lot of times what happens is over the years, they fall behind other kids who are much slower in the earlier grades. How does that happen? What happened? You were the smartest kid in first grade. How do you just not become the smartest kid? How is it that you... And the reason is because they never developed the skills that were needed to properly digest and concentrate and develop good study habits. So yes, when they were young, everything that they learned right away went in, but that's not always a gift. That's not always a good thing. Okay? Next, that is our first guy. The second guy is the opposite. Very hard for him to understand anything. Okay, I remember when I was in yeshiva, the rabbi would say, okay guys, today's case. There was once an ox, the ox gored someone else's sheep. Who has to pay who? And the guy was like, wait, what? Say it again? What was the case, Rabbi? Sorry, the ox? And he would like sit there. Ox. Sheep. Ox gores sheep. He had to literally sit there, slowly visualizing everything, okay? Such a person is kasher lishmoa. However, this guy had an amazing memory, because at the end of the day, it was very hard for him to get it, but till he finally, once he did get it, he was rolling. He remembered it, and again, based on the Maharal, because he was so careful in trying to understand it, that is specifically why it stuck. And therefore, a lot of times, when we are listening to a class, the easier it is for us to understand the class, a lot of times, the faster we'll forget it. So a way of ensuring that we don't forget, very, very easy, is review it, write it down, make sure you understood it. Did everything make sense? Did each piece of the thought of the class flow from one to the next, okay? There is a very interesting halakha, by the way, based on this, okay? Now, I'm not going to tell you that you should actually practice this today. Always speak to your LOR, right? Local Orthodox rabbi. However, the Bartenura says, Im yesh lefanenu shne talmidim. If somebody has to support two kids in yeshiva, okay, happens a lot. I got a phone call from somebody, a student of mine, a few years ago, and they needed help paying for yeshiva in Israel. They wanted to go study for the year, and their parents can't afford it. They're only able to afford a portion, a percentage of it, and they needed help, and he came to me, and I called someone. He gave right away a few thousand, and Be'ezat Hashem, we'll collect the rest very, very quickly. But let's say you have in front of you two students. Ve'en lanu lesapek mazon ela le'echad mehem. But you could only afford to pay for one to go to yeshiva. You could only support one of them. Which one should you support? One that is very, very bright, understands, but doesn't have a good memory, or one that doesn't understand quickly but has a great memory? Who would you support first? Nagdim hakashe le'abed al hamaher lishmawa. Better to support the one who has a strong memory than the one who has a strong comprehension. Okay, interesting. Again, I don't know that we should apply this today in every case. I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there's more to this than what we just read. But either way, these are the two middle types of people. And then we have the extreme. First guy, extreme all the way to the right. Maher lishmoa, great comprehension, very quick learner, and a very, very good memory. Okay? Kashe le'abed. This guy was gifted, amazing. Okay? What a lucky guy. By the way, it's important to remember this. You ready? Even if you're such a person, okay? Even if you were given all the brains in the world, and you understand very quickly, and you also don't forget, you should still review constantly. There's an amazing story. Hacham Ovadia Yosef, I'm sure we all heard of him. Hacham Ovadia Yosef, he was known, they say that he had photographic memory. Whatever he learned, there was once a journalist came to his house, and he said, I see a lot of books over here. Did you go through all of them? How much of them did you read? And Hacham Ovadia says, I read all of them. And the journalist was impressed. He said, do you remember all of them? He says, yeah, I do. And the journalist says, do you mind if I test you? And Hacham Ovadia says, okay. And the journalist writes, he said, I went to the dustiest corner, picked up the most random book, opened up to the middle of the book, and I started reading. And Hacham Ovadia stopped me after a few sentences. He said exactly which book I was reading from. He told me the page that I was up to, and he finished the entire page. Okay? This was Rav Ovadia Yosef, okay? What a loss, by the way, to our generation. What a loss. Such a person. Anyone? Ashrei, blessed, fortunate was the person that was able to go and get a beracha from Rav Ovadia Yosef. Either way, be it as it may. Okay. Hacham Ovadia, he once overheard somebody say about him, they said, yeah, but he has photographic memory. And Hacham Ovadia turned to the person and he heard him. Okay, maybe the guy didn't think he had good hearing, but he had good hearing also. He turned to the guy and he said, you should know that even if I didn't have photographic memory, I would still know what I know by heart because of the amount of times that I reviewed. So this is something that we need to remember. Even if we think we got it, even if we understood it, even if we have a strong memory, review it again and again and again. Chazara. Finally, the fourth guy, kashe lishmoa, someone that has a very hard time understanding, not a quick learner. And also, maher le'abed, even what he does learn, he quickly forgets. So over here, this person, hazi, nebach, like we say in Arabic, nebach, very hard time understanding and very hard time remembering. But do not despair, because we know the rule, lefum ta'ara agra, based on the pain is the agra, is the reward. There's a story of a boy that one time the Rebbe overheard him whispering very scary thoughts of suicide. The rabbi was very, very nervous. He took the boy to the side. He spoke to him. What's the matter? Why are you saying these things? The kid wouldn't open up. The Rebbe decided it was time. Emergency. Parents didn't know why. The Rebbe didn't know why. He took him to the Gadol, leading rabbi of the generation, the Steipler. The Steipler spoke to the boy. He tried to get the kid to open up. Why are you having these thoughts? And the boy finally opened up. He says, Rabbi, I'll tell you. Whenever the rabbi explains something in class, all the other kids, they get it. Maybe after once, maximum 2 times. Me, 5 times and I still don't understand. I go home, I have tutors, I still don't understand. No matter how much I learn, it doesn't go in. And the Steipler Gaon, he smiled. He looked at the boy and he says, what I'm about to tell you, I swear that it's true. Could you imagine? He had to swear that what he's about to tell him is true. He said, when you sit down to study and you open the Gemara, I want you to know that Hashem takes all the angels and he gathers them around and he says, I want you to leave for a second the Steipler. I want you to leave Rabbi Eliashiv. I want you to leave Rav Moshe Fines. I want you to leave Acham Ovadia Yosef. I want you to come. I have a boy who's learning, who's more valuable to me than all of their Torah put together. And Hashem gathers all the angels and they sit down listening to what you are learning. And so even if we are this 4th category of someone that has a hard time, kasher lishmoa, doesn't make sense, I don't get it. Could you repeat that, Rabbi? Sometimes we have to listen to a class 5 times just to understand it. And we are also maher le'abed. We don't remember it. But do not give up. Because Hashem prefers such a person's learning that's hard and they still apply themselves. That is so valuable to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should never give up on that. What's very interesting to know, that it doesn't say, remember the previous few Mishnayot that we did, when it was listing 4 people? It would say, this one is okay, this one is okay, this one's tzaddik, and this one's horrible, wicked. Remember that? That was the equation till now. Yeah? As an example. If you are, if your temper is like this, it's okay. If your temper is like that, it's okay. If you have a very, right? If you're very patient, and you forgive, you're a tzaddik. You're amazing. And if you're the opposite, if you have a very short temper and you don't forgive, you hold a grudge for a long time, you're a rasha. That was the equation that we've been giving till now. That you have 2 guys that are in the middle. One's a tzaddik and one is a rasha. Right? That was the equation. How is it with our Mishnah? Is it the same thing? Are the 2 extremes tzaddik and rasha? If you pay attention, the Mishnah doesn't say tzaddik and rasha. Anyone remember what it said for the 3rd guy? Again, there are 4 types of students. One of them remembers. One of them understands very quickly, very sharp, very quick learner, but forgets quickly. That's okay. Another one is the opposite. Very not so sharp, very hard to learn, but very, very good memory. That's also okay. Then we have the 2 extremes. The one who's a quick learner and a great memory. Is that guy called a tzaddik? That's not what the Mishnah says. Anyone remember the term used by our Mishnah? The Mishnah says that's a chacham. Chacham means that person is wise. Other books, by the way, don't even say chacham. They say chelik tov. That is a good portion. And the 4th guy, the one who grasps slowly and forgets quickly, doesn't say rasha, it says chelik ra. That's a bad portion. Because it's not your fault or your credit if you are on the extremes. Unlike the previous Mishnah, that's something that's in your control. And if you don't work on it, that's your problem. But over here, you're not a wicked guy, right? Very good. There's no wickedness in, excellent, well said, Moise. There's no wickedness in being a slow learner and quick forgetter, right? But if that's the case, I'm going to ask you a question. What in the world is the Mishnah then here to tell us? Why is the Mishnah wasting its energy telling me something that we can't change? If this is in Pirkei Avot is here to tell us, listen, be this, work on that. It's not here to tell us things that are factual, right? Some people are tall. It doesn't say that, right? I could also make up a Mishnah. There are 4 types of people. One's tall, one's short. One's tall and fat, one's tall and skinny. It doesn't say that, right? And one's short and in between, right? It's not here to tell us things that we can't change. Some people are dark, some people are light. Some people are dark with dark eyes, some people are dark with light eyes. Some people are light. That's not a Mishnah. The rabbis are not here to waste your time telling you that. You go figure it out. I don't know. I don't need to tell you that as a Mishnah. The Mishnah is here to guide us to be certain things. So if that's the case, and these are things that are not in our control, then what's the purpose of this Mishnah? That's a good question. Did you understand the question? Okay. If not, it's okay. You're the second type or the third type. It's okay. Slow to understand, right? What is the point of a Mishnah telling me something that's not in my control? I don't know. Go to Hashem. Ask Him why I wasn't born with a quick understanding. Why am I a slow learner? I don't need a Mishnah to point it out to me. But the answer is, says the Lev Tov, something very, very powerful. That in a way, whether or not we understand something quickly is in our control. Whether or not we remember something is in our control. And this is so important for us because a lot of times we are sitting in a shi'ur and we say, Rabbi, I don't understand. This is not for me. I'll see you tomorrow. I tried learning's not my thing. I tried studying Gemara, it's not for me. I tried reading a book, it's not my type. You may recall, maybe as a child, that we have had certain teachers who we loved and admired. Yes? Do you remember such a teacher? I hope so. Yeah. Now, anything that teacher would say, we hung on to every single word. They would come in, good morning, Talmidim. Good morning, Talmidim. Right? We're writing every single word, right? We love everything that they say. And right away, whatever they teach us, we grasp it and we understand it and we say sense. We say, wow, amazing, got it. However, if we don't like the subject that the teacher said, even though we'll understand it right away because we love the teacher that was teaching it, but we won't remember it because the subject matter is not important to us. Vice versa is also true. If we didn't like the teacher, but it was important material, we may not understand it. The teacher could be boring as heck, and we may need to repeat it 5, 6, 7, 8 times. But we will remember it because this is important information. I need to know this to pass the test. I need to know this to be able to put food on the table. I need to know this to be a good husband, to be a good wife. Whatever the reason is, I need to know this. And so, forcing ourselves that something is important can help us remember it more. Learning from someone that we enjoy allows us to understand it more quickly. And so these are things that we can practice. These are things that are in our hands. So as an example, when I was a student in Flatbush, I remember Rabbi Prague, he would quote every time out of his head, the Gemara on this page, on this thing, it says, and we were so impressed. And one day his kid raises his hand, I'll never forget, I probably said the story before, forgive me if I did, and he says, Rabbi, how do you remember all of that? What a memory you have. And Rabbi Prague, he got very serious. He said to the kid, tell me, you're a Yankees fan? He goes, yes. Tell me, who's the first pitcher for the Yankees? Tells him his name. What's his number on his jersey? He tells him. What's his ERA? He tells him. How many games did he play this season? He tells him. You like basketball? What's your favorite team? Who's the starting five for that team? What's this? What's that? And the kid was whipping it out. Every single thing on a dime, knew exactly the number. 1.86. Rabbi Prague says, amazing. You have an amazing memory as well. I don't have a better memory than you. The difference is it important for you to remember or not? For me, Torah is important. And so I'm forced to remember it. For you, the Yankees is important. That's what you remember. Very powerful. I remember when I was in yeshiva, my rabbi told us very good advice. My rabbi said that when you You're gonna go all one day. He turned to all of us. He said, one day you're all gonna be rabbis. You're all gonna go to Kollel. You're all gonna become teachers one day. There is nothing that's gonna force you to remember the Torah that you learn like having to teach it over to someone else. The second you're forced to teach it, all of a sudden you'll realize that the level of your learning is going to need to go up many, many notches. Because you could sit and you could learn and nod your head and say, got it, makes sense. But until you have to actually teach it, who said you really got it? Who said you really understood it? And it's true. I would learn a Gemara, I would learn a Halacha. Okay, I understood it. There, got it, thank you. But when I had to give a shi'ur on it, and I was forced to understand what I was teaching, I'm like, whoa, time out. I would find myself repeating it as I was practicing giving the class over, just to myself, no one's in the room. And as I was repeating the ideas, I found out that, wait, 1 second, this doesn't make sense. I thought I understood it, I don't really understand it. That's why it's so important to repeat what we learn, to teach it to someone, or to have a chavruta, someone that we learn with. Because when we learn with somebody, it forces us to repeat it. Now that I have to repeat it, right now after this class, if I asked you in one sentence, what did you learn today? How quickly could you answer that question? Wait, what did we learn? Anger? No, that was the previous one. What was today? No, 1 second. Right? How quickly can you repeat the class, and how well can you repeat the class? Taking notes. Realizing that this is important. Torah is important. All of these things allow us and enable us to remember and to understand more quickly. And so in a way, the message of our Mishnah Pirkei Avot is that it is saying that we should view everything that we're learning in Torah as important. If we need to understand math to be able to understand Torah, then math becomes important. History becomes important. Music becomes important. All these things become important because now they allow me to have a richer understanding of what I am learning in Torah. And there's nothing more important than learning, and I have to learn and I have to remember. And once we value the subject, and so that is our Mishnah. Again, there's a lot more to study today, but we'll stop over here. Wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day, and God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.